When you close your eyes, it doesn't go black, it goes dark gray. And that gray isn't empty. Grain moves across it, patches drift, and every so often something bright flares at the edge and is gone. You've seen this every night for as long as you can remember. The accepted answer is that it's nothing. Leftover light, a tired eye, something that will fade. It doesn't fade, it's a signal, and it has a sender. So what is it you're actually watching? You can't get rid of that gray. Eyes shut in a windowless cellar in the middle of the night under a blanket. Still gray. It has a name given to it by the German physiologist Ewald Hering. Eigengrau, intrinsic gray. Hering chose gray deliberately because the men before him had called it the black of the eye, and he decided it isn't black. And now something that shouldn't be possible. In a cinema, a black card comes up on the screen. That black is darker than what you see behind your eyelids. You look at something black and see something darker than when you're looking at nothing, because your eyes don't measure absolute brightness, they measure differences. The black card has a lit auditorium around it, and only next to that does it turn black. Darkness isn't an absence of signal, it's a signal about something that isn't there. There's a simpler proof that the eye makes light out of nothing, and everybody knows it. Pressed eyelids. Within a moment, there are bright rings, grids, pulsing shapes. They're called phosphenes. There's no light in there. There's pressure. The retina answers it just as it would answer a photon, because only one kind of signal goes up to the brain anyway. The brain receives the message light and has no way of checking whether it came from the sun or from your thumb. To understand that gray, you need to know what your eye does in the dark. It doesn't switch off. It turns the gain up. After 15 minutes in a dark room, you see things that weren't visible at the start. After half an hour, your sensitivity has climbed thousands of times. In 1942, Selig Hecht and two colleagues went looking for the limit. They sat people in the dark for 40 minutes and gave them fainter and fainter flashes. It turned out a person detects a flash made of a handful of photons, effectively the smallest thing left to count. And here's the trap that catches every system turned up to maximum. When sensitivity is turned this high, you start to see yourself. Your retina holds around 120 million rods, each packed with pigment molecules that change shape when a photon strikes them. That change of shape is the whole mechanism of sight, except that the same molecule can change shape on its own. The heat of your body is enough. In 1980, Dennis Baylor, together with Gordon Matthews and Qinghua Yao, measured it directly, one cell at a time. 4 years later, the same group repeated the measurement in a mammalian eye at body temperature. A single rod fires a false signal roughly once every 90 seconds. Once every 90 seconds sounds harmless. 120 million rods each firing falsely once every 90 seconds is more than 1 million false flashes a second in your eye. They called it dark light. Your eye shines inward and there is no way to switch it off. If the eye makes a signal indistinguishable from a real one, something inside has to pull the two apart. Something decides which flashes the world and which is you. That isn't the only thing it hides from you. On a bright day, against an even sky, people see tiny bright points darting along curved paths. Always the same tracks, the same direction. That isn't fatigue. Those are your own white blood cells, shouldering through the vessels in front of the retina. You are seeing the inside of your own eye. The same goes for floaters, those dark threads drifting across your vision. Debris inside the eyeball, casting a shadow. The image you are handed is dirty. Always was. Vessels in it, shadows, threads, and a constant rain of false flashes. And you see a clean world. So between the eye and you, there is an editor, cutting out things that really are in the picture. If it stopped there, you could live with it. But it doesn't only cut. In each of your eyes, there is a hole. The place where the optic nerve leaves the eyeball and where there isn't a single light-sensitive cell. A blind circle that, if you could see it, would be the size of several full moons, right beside the center of your field of view. Edmé Marriott, a French scholar, discovered it in 1660 and demonstrated it at court as a trick, because nobody would believe they had such a thing inside their eye. You have never seen that hole. No black patch, no gap. You see wall there if you are looking at a wall. You see railings there, and the railings run unbroken through it, although in that spot there is nothing to see them with. The brain doesn't leave an empty field. It draws in content nobody sent it, and it does it so well that you have gone your whole life without noticing. That isn't editing anymore. That is production, which leaves the question of how far it goes when the material runs out. Put a person in a field of even, shapeless light. No edges, no objects, fog across the whole field of view. After 10 or 15 minutes, they start to see shapes, then patterns. then scenes and faces. In 1954, at McGill University in Montreal, in Donald Hebb's group, they went further. They paid students to lie in a sound-damped cubicle, in goggles that let through milky light with no shapes in it, hands in cardboard cuffs, reaching past their fingertips. Nothing to look at, nothing to hear, nothing to touch. They were to last as long as they could. Most gave up after 2 or 3 days. Before they did, they started seeing. First dots and lines, then patterns like wallpaper, then single objects with no background, and finally whole scenes playing out in front of them. These were healthy people. Cutting off the supply of world was enough. But what happens when the supply can't be restored? A person loses their sight slowly to a disease of the retina. Instead of darkness, they begin to see things. Sharp, colored, detailed. People in old-fashioned clothes, patterns on the walls, animals in the room. The Swiss naturalist Charles Bonnet described it in 1760, watching his own grandfather. The old man could barely see, and he talked about the visitors who came into his room and said nothing. These people are not mentally ill. They know it isn't there. They watch it calmly, like a film. When the input disappears for good, the production doesn't stop. And this is the point at which the whole thing has to be turned around. All your life, you have carried a picture in which the eyes send an image to the brain, and the brain watches it. You are the viewer, the eye is the camera. It's the other way round. The brain produces the image continuously, out of itself, out of what it knows about the world. The eyes only correct it. The signal from the retina isn't a broadcast, it's a list of corrections to something that has already been drawn. Hermann von Helmholtz got there in 1867 and called it unconscious inference. Seeing isn't receiving, it's guessing, checked against whatever arrives from outside. So closing your eyes doesn't switch off the image, it switches off the corrections. The gray behind your eyelids isn't an absence of picture, it's your picture with no world in it. And if that is so, the line your entire trust in your own eyes rests on stops existing. A hallucination isn't something other than seeing. It is seeing that too few corrections reached. Even fog cuts them off. Darkness cuts them off. Losing your sight cuts them off for good. Every time, what is left is the production alone, and every time it carries on working. Anil Seth of the University of Sussex calls it a controlled hallucination. Not because everything is invented, because what you call seeing is a hallucination held on a short leash by reality. This isn't settled. How much the brain writes in and how much it receives is still disputed and will be for a long time. The direction is certain, the image is made inside and the world corrects it, not the other way around. So there is no switch between seeing and making things up. There is a slider. For most of the day, it sits high, because light is coming in and correcting the guesswork hard. In a dark room, it drops. Behind closed eyelids, it falls almost to zero. And what is left is pure production, that gray with the grain in it. But it never sits at the very end of the scale. Even now, in full light, part of what you see is written in, because the brain doesn't only draw in places, it draws in time as well. Your eyes don't sweep smoothly across a room. They jump, 3 or 4 times a second, point to point. During each jump, the image on the retina smears so badly, nothing can be read from it. So the brain cuts it out. A few tens of milliseconds per jump, several jumps a second. That is more than a tenth of your waking life. Hours a day in which you see nothing. You have no memory of a hole in the picture. The brain doesn't leave one. It glues the edges and extends whatever was there before the jump. And this one you can sometimes catch yourself doing. When you look across at a clock with a second hand, the first second sometimes seems longer than the ones after it. The hand seems to hang. That isn't the clock. That is your brain patching the hole it cut with whatever it saw straight after the jump and pushing that image backwards in time. You have never seen the world. You have seen your own best version of what agreed with it.